back, you guys, to our YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in this week. We have our special guest, AJ Fletcher here. So, he's going to be answering some questions for us and talking a little bit about mindset and what else you got for us?
Mindset, I think there's maybe a couple questions. Somebody had some about diet on Facebook and stuff like that, so I'll maybe get into some of those.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself first, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the people, let's hear.
So my name's AJ, as I said. I used to work at here about a year to 2 years ago, somewhere around there. And I love my job. I got to do it all through my time at UL. I ended up graduating there about a year ago as well. And then I I needed to get some time to really chase after my dream, I guess, which is being a professional fighter in the UFC. So that's where this last year and a half has taken me since I've left here, and I just love coming back to where I was and teaching classes and sharing some of the things that I get to learn, and that's what I'm hoping to do with this video a little bit and share some of the stuff.
We love having you here.
Thank you.
It's always such a pleasure. So
I know, it's like, wow, it's doing all the things.
We're gonna be watching this video in a year, and you can be all famous, and we're gonna be like, look, he did this video for us.
And then I'll come teach another class.
Right, and then you'll still remember us. But you've had an amazing year. It's you worked hard for it, but yeah, we're so proud of you and all of your success. Well deserved.
One thing I think that really hits home for me is like this idea of, so before you start something new, right, there's like, you have in this head, you have this vision of, or whatever you see, like somebody who's super successful in this dream or this whatever avenue you want to go down, and it seems like they're just so far away from like wherever you're at that they're like not even, almost like they're not even human anymore. Like they're like, there's some, like you see like LeBron James or something on TV.
Right.
You're like, oh my goodness, who is this guy? Like he's 6 foot, whatever, blah, 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 all these things. He's amazing at dunking and dribbling, and you can, not just LeBron James, but anybody who's super successful in their field and all these things.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they're almost so far ahead of you in steps that you could never get there. So a lot of people are almost like paralyzed by that with things that they want to do. And that was something for me, like, I don't want to say I was ever like paralyzed by it, but there was like a disconnect almost, like
Who is your person? Who's your idol?
now, I mean, for me, starting out, it was like, for me when I was in high school, I played football, so it was a lot of the football guys, like, oh my goodness, and then I started thinking like, okay, well, I'm not really getting too many offers or anything like football.
Maybe not football.
Yeah, right, so I wanted to kind of like branch out into something new, and you go through the same process again of like, you're starting something new. For me, it was MMA, and you start looking at some of these guys, and I remember like being in my high school classroom, like watching all these kind of like highlight videos and stuff, and thinking like, man, could I maybe do that? These people seem so far out there. So like, there was this moment where like you try to if you wonder almost if it's like useless to like even start, like, should I even just do this? Should I, like, is this just worthless? But anyway, so a lot of people get stuck on that point. So it's like, how do you get from the point where you think that these people are like inhuman and you could never reach that, to where you get to this point of, oh, maybe like they are human, like maybe they've just done a lot and like tried really hard and like messed up a lot of stuff and just kind of kept going. So it's like, I've thought about this a decent bit, and I think like the main thing is just taking that first step. Like for somebody, so for this YouTube channel, like, if there's somebody out there who's watching this, who's like going through, I remember what I did. I would go through all the MMA things, all the little videos I could find. If there's somebody who's thinking about starting kickboxing here right now, you're probably watching this video wondering like if you should take that step one. Let me tell you, like that step one is like the first thing to like build you to that person that you have in your head that's like, maybe it's like Coach Tiffany or something who's just like super badass, or maybe it's one of you two who are doing these techniques like super perfectly, and like these people just seem so far off. But if you take that step one, I'm just gonna sound super cliche, I know, but you're one step closer to those people. But the importance isn't necessarily, like, it's definitely taking that step one, and then it's eventually you get to a point, if there's 100 steps, you get to step 51. Okay, and step 51 is really interesting, because at step 51, now you're no longer like closer to this person you were whenever you very first started, or before you even started. Now you're closer to the ideal that you had in your head. Whether step 51 is real or not, it's almost doesn't matter. It's just, there's at least in my head, something clicked where it's like, oh, if you get to like step 51, eventually like these people start seeming like you can actually get to them more than, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It seems like reachable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can look back on where you started, and you see the growth that you've come, and then you know that from there you can grow even more.
Yeah, exactly. You look back to the beginning and you're like, okay, well, I've made some progress. Like, I for sure haven't stayed the same as when I started at that step 1. So then you progress that, and you're like, okay, well, maybe if I just keep doing it, if I keep progressing, no matter how fast or slow or whatever, if I just keep taking these little steps, eventually I'm going to get closer to that ideal. And eventually you get so close to it that you're like,
living your dream.
Yeah, well, like, why can't I? Well, that's the thing, is like, it's that the process, right? That's the dream. It's like, do you ever really reach that ideal of what you have in your head?
Yeah. You become like your own thing. It's like, it's for sure. It's like you take all these steps, but somewhere along the way you find your own path.
Yeah, and you start realizing like, okay, well, what was really the dream? Like for me, it was, I wanted to be able to train every day. I wanted to be able to train people, and I wanted to be able to do my fights and all that. And eventually you get to this point, it's like, well, I want to be in the UFC, I want to be a UFC champion and all this stuff, but the weight, where I put my importance, isn't necessarily in those results, right? The results, and whether it's fat loss, whether it's gaining muscle, whether it's getting better at kickboxing, whether it's making it to the UFC in my case, whether those goals and those results are important, but they're only reflective. They're not where your focus should be. Like the focus is in those work and taking those little tiny steps, and eventually those results come. There's all the time you're not going to get the results exactly when you want them and exactly how you want them, but it's taking those little steps, and eventually, whether it's the first time, the second time, the third time, those goals will come in the form you think, or maybe a little bit different form. It just depends. But the dream really is that process of like going along and trying to find that ideal that you may never actually get to, but it's that pursuit of it, and then you, like you said, you kind of form into your own dream and your own kind of deal. So
I like that you don't just focus on that one thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's the journey. Getting there is all a part of it.
I feel like we're naming so many songs right now. Like,
wow.
Really?
Yes. The journey there, one step closer.
That's it.
I was not picking up on that, but
very motivational, like good motivational sayings.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the cliches have a little truth to it.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah, for sure. But that was, I don't know, that was like the main thing. That was like, for me, that person you asked about right now, it's probably Dustin, if I had to say. Like, really? I got to go see him like win his interim title belt and stuff, and that was one of the moments for me. It was like, oh my God, it sounds just, again, so cliche, but it's like, these people are human. Like, he's punched me in the face. I've punched him in the face. Like, it's a real thing. It's like, I don't know. That was just like, seeing that was like one of those moments, like, oh my gosh, this is like why
it just clicked.
Yeah, and it's like, why would I limit myself to something else? And that's like, that goes for everything. I know I relate it to fighting because that's my thing, but relate it to whatever you want, whether it's starting some new journey, learning ballet,
you could be a chef.
Yeah, whatever it is, like, that's the thing, is like just taking that step, trying to having the idea of step 100 in your head or step 87, but when I'm at step 7, it does me no good to look at people and compare myself to people at step 72, right? Maybe I want to look at, if I'm at step 7, maybe I look at people at step 8 through 12, and I get an idea of kind of what they're doing right, and I start adapting some of those things to my life, and then now maybe I'm at step 9 in 2 months, and now I'm closer to 100, and it's just that constant,
I like that, staying in the moment and just being present and enjoying each step and each phase as it comes.
And I want to point out, that's actually that's really good advice, not only for goals, but just like life advice. Actually, make your vision board, and all of what he's saying applies to every single piece of that, whatever it is that you want out of life.
You want to get into some of these Facebook questions?
Okay.
I want to ask something though first, just while you're looking at that, because I know you went through school and training. How do you do everything? seemed like you were working, you were going to school, you were training,
You did,
you had a girlfriend, like you just had it all, and I'm
very
sure it
understanding girlfriend, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's JC, you're the bomb, still the bomb. She's coming down tomorrow. I'm
So
super excited.
cute.
We're going on a date night. So it's fun.
Yeah. But it just seemed not effortless, because I'm sure it wasn't. It was a lot. I know you graduated with a black eye.
I did do
so
that.
You had a lot going on, but I don't know, was it because it's your passion? It was everything you enjoyed doing, you loved, like you just made it work? Or
It was
mentally, like,
how'd you get through the hard moments when you're like, I can't do this, I need to quit, whatever. Like, how did you get over those kind of humps? Or how did you stop yourself from getting to that point?
I definitely had those moments. I never want to make it seem like those moments never cross through my mind. Like, even to this day, like, dude, what are you doing? You're about to go fight another human being in a cage, or you're trying to make this your life. Like, what are you doing? No, you still have those moments. Not running from those thoughts and kind of like, not going to them, but like talking yourself through, like, are these rational fears or whatever? Are these rational... Should I be thinking like this? I always just like go back to the question of like, okay, so I'll have those moments where those thoughts come in and I'm like, okay, so what would you rather do? You think about it for like a couple minutes and you're like, I can't complain about shit. It's like, I just gotta keep going. Like it's, I don't know, it's like I can't, like this is my thing. Like this,
You wouldn't abandon all that work that you did.
Yeah, and it's like I know, like I've seen myself, my habits and like my, just a bunch of things about me like change like for the better, and it's like hard to say like halfway through the path or a quarter of the way or step 5 in, even if you've seen improvement, that okay, I'm just gonna throw that away, you know? Yeah. And it's like that's the question, like that's all. Anytime I get those, I just, okay, what would you rather be doing? And if like for people out there who like maybe there is something that comes up in your head that's like, well, I would rather be doing this. Start it. Step 1, start it. You don't have to abandon your whole path or whatever, but go take a step in that direction. Go, if you like, pottery, go watch a pottery video on YouTube. Take that little step, and then that one step, you'll be around other people who have taken that step, or you'll have more of an understanding. So then now you're at step 2, and okay, well, you've seen some people in this class, maybe they have like a new, talking pottery,
technique.
But maybe they have a new technique of doing this, so maybe you start trying this, boom, you're at step 3, and then you just keep going, you build that momentum, you just keep it going, and but I don't know,
Love
like
that. That's,
yeah,
that's crazy.
I can relate to something like along those lines. Mel and I had a crazy idea to rebrand a gym during a pandemic, so we're making it work.
Yes,
and
Rolling with it.
there were days when I know it seemed impossible,
It's like,
but
are we insane for doing this?
it's good to feel like have that feel of accomplishment. And even though it's still like every day, like, you know, you're working at it, it's you still, and like you have those moments, like, you know, sometimes you have those moments come up where it's what am I doing? What is this gonna work, or is this like let me be realistic with myself or something like that. But you kind of have to turn off those negative thoughts, I think, and really think about why you're doing what you're doing and go for it.
Well, another thing too, like that whole, so this is a big topic when you talk about like a bunch of like legendary boxing trainers, and Tim talks about it all the time too, but it's like that whole idea of the fear of the unknown, right? Mm-hmm. What's out there? That's something so ingrained in our human nature, like yes. What's beyond those trees right there? What if I leave the safety of my little garden right here or whatever? And it's weird because a lot of people, at least I had the idea that a lot of these people who went into that fear of the unknown or went into some career path that wasn't necessarily safe, I guess you would call it, like I've got a safety net or whatever. These people, I thought in my head, these people got to a certain point before they made that like leap of faith that they had like some sort of premonition that it would all turn out okay. Like they got to a certain point and they're like, okay, I'll go ahead and make this leap, and now I know it's all, like from this leap forward, I know it's all gonna be all right. Like no, like every single person, I watch so many videos on YouTube of like fighters, and then I'll go into like rappers who did that same thing of like making that leap of like just betting on themselves like the whole way. And it's not that you get this premonition of like, okay, if I make this leap, everything's gonna be fine, I'm gonna get exactly this ideal or whatever, but it's quite literally that leap that turns you, that turns your qualities, that you have no safety net. You have to physically become whatever it is to get that job done, and it's that
That's true.
Almost like that, again, a cliche, but that whole forged in fire kind of thing. You've got to throw yourself into that unknown so that you become this next
Well, when you're challenged is when you grow, and if you just sit comfortably and just cruise along your whole life, that's you know, you're not gonna really, you know, put yourself out there.
For real, like even, so if I was related to here, like trying that new move, trying that new technique. I purposely brought in a lot of like weird techniques tonight in our class that like go against of like the normal, like what you're taught. It's that idea of being flexible and understanding like, I'm gonna look weird when I first do this. Everybody looks weird at step one. You know what I mean? And it's like
even trying kickboxing. Like it's not something I ever thought I would ever do, but I love it. And I was so scared to try it, but I put those gloves on and hit the bag, and I did. I felt so weird. I've never punched anything in my life, but it felt so good. And learning the skill, honestly, was what really got me, that technique and skill. So just even trying something new, you never know. You never know.
Yes. All right, well, let's dive into some of these questions. Amanda Thibodeau asked, when doing roundhouses, I know we are to put weight on the ball of our foot and pivot the heel. I struggle with not being able to stay on the ball and losing balance at times, landing on the side of my foot when my opposite leg connects with the bag. What are tips I can do to help with my balance? She
said she was scared she's gonna roll her ankle.
Ooh.
And I was like, don't do that.
Okay, so I guess there's kind of two things I would say. Let me see if I can show it here too. So
we got a bag.
One would be just like, as like a drill to almost do, is just try to build up, like get yourself used to being on your toes a little bit more. Like do like real slow just kicks where you just focus on just that. Maybe it's coming to class like 5 minutes before and just doing this. Just getting used to staying on our toe every time we kick. And then the other part of that, the balance, one, that's gonna come from doing the reps, but two, I say like I cheat just a little bit whenever I do my pivot for my roundhouse kick. Whenever you do that pivot, don't put all your weight, don't put all your importance on that pivot, or don't make your pivot your do or die. And what I mean by that is when I take this step, I'm gonna cheat a little bit and I'm not gonna leave my toes facing the bag. When I take this step, if I turn my toes out a little bit, now my pivot is there, but it's not there quite as much. I'm already 25, 50% of the way turned. So now that pivot, it's there, but it doesn't have to get me all the way there. So now I can kind of, it's less work on those toes and less work on that calf, if that makes sense. By just taking that step and turning those toes a little bit out, because understand you've got to get the main thing with a kick is getting my hips turned in that direction. So if I can do that kind of prematurely, not prematurely, I don't want to say, but
it's like getting a head start.
Yeah, exactly. Getting a little head start and turning those toes out so that the pivot doesn't have to do all that work for you.
I think it takes a while to build up that foot strength too, though.
Yeah,
because we wear shoes and, you know, we don't really do a lot barefoot. So I think that's a big one, especially when people first. Amanda's been here for a while, a long time. But I think, building up that foot strength takes a minute.
Okay, and then so Vicky Chapman has a similar pivoting question. This might be a tough one. She says, pivoting on my left foot for my right roundhouses comes easily, but pivoting on my right foot for my left roundhouses does not. Do you have any tips to help with this other than just keep practicing?
Yes. So this is actually one.
People usually say the opposite, that the left feels.
No, like she's saying the left roundhouse is difficult, so pivoting on her right foot.
Gotcha.
So this was like, I think during the whole quarantine, I did a lot of bag work and stuff at my house, and I figured this out like last night, and I was like, aha moment. My hip has been like super, super tight. My cross has been feeling like it doesn't have like quite as much power as it should, and I was like, let me try something. So to answer your question, what I tried was, and my switch kicks felt really weird too, like after the whole quarantine thing. So what I tried was like turning my back foot, my back toes, instead of keeping them kind of here at like a, 2 or 3 o'clock position, try turning them out to maybe, I don't know, what direction is that? That is 3 o'clock.
Oh, I'm
maybe,
so bad at those.
So like 1:30 as opposed to like 3. Try to get it more in that 3 o'clock position and understand like the whole thing with our hips, right? I want my hips facing the direction I've got to go. So if we turn those back toes, yes, I can still pivot, but a lot of the work is already done. So as opposed to here where I switch and I've got to pivot all the way, if if I have my feet already kind of almost like little duck things, or at least the back one, I can already have the work done for me and one, have a quick kick, and two, not have to put so much work on that back leg.
So it's almost the same, like you kind of added a 45, taking like more of a step out and open to not have to pivot as much.
Yeah,
is that right?
Exactly.
Ooh, I'm gonna try that too, because I find the left is so much more awkward. It just feels weird.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. You have a weird side?
I do, for sure. It's more, so mine's more now if I switch to like with my right hand in front, that's my funky side. I'm getting better. I can do certain things out of it, but yeah, that's definitely.
That is weird. Like if you've taken class with us before, you know that we always do, you know, you want to be left first. And Catherine, could you imagine like switching it? Yeah. Some people on their first day though, they're like, wait, no, but you're right-handed.
Yeah.
Did you put your right hand? And I was like, well, wait, but no. Okay, the next question is, this is it's not really a question, but I'm gonna read it anyways.
Is it Jen's?
This is from Kayla. I want him to, I'm gonna quote this by the way. I want him to show me how he kicked the face off that man with them windmill roundhouses I synced on YouTube.
She had the same shirt on as in that corner tonight.
Okay.
Kayla was in class. So she did get to see how we
She got to do that.
Saw the windmill.
Yes, so we're gonna watch that in a second with that windmill kick.
Do you want to do a slow one?
Yes.
Slow little like spinning heel kick. This
So
is AJ.
I always tell people like the way I learned it like YouTube videos and all that of like people actually doing the kick. But if you look at, sound weird, but if you look at a ballerina and how they spin, right? What are they doing? They're on their toes and they use their motion doesn't start with their hips or their feet. It starts with their hands. So they create this motion right here where my arms are already going this way, but my hips are still facing, so that it's like this whip with my hips, where when my hips come around, it's got a lot of force. And that helps with, yes, doing the kick, but also like kind of getting that leg up. If I try to do this really, I've done it slow a good bit now, so I can do it, but when I first started, if I tried it like super slow, there was no way I was getting my leg up. So that little whip action also helps our leg raise up just a little bit. So if I was to do my kick, let's see, there we go.
Yeah, we see you right there.
What I'm gonna do is I like to throw it with some punches first, because I can kind of build that momentum up like a ballerina. And the one I like to throw it with is my hook, or my left hook. Okay, and when I throw it, I do a little step, and I use that momentum from my hook to carry me around. And if you're doing it on the bag, don't try to hit with your heel, try to just like graze your toes on the bag.
Did you plan to use that kick in that fight?
Yeah, did you train with that kick, or were you just like, no, I'm gonna throw this out?
It was one of those like I would get to practice early and just kind of like mess around and try some new stuff, and just through doing that for like a month or two, I got pretty deep. Like I got to the point where I could graze my toes on the bag. I was like, damn, okay. So then, funny story, we had between our rules meeting for the fight and like the time of the fight, I had some time to go back to my hotel room in the casino, and I brought my Xbox, so I played UFC 3. The video game.
Good prep.
So I was playing with a dude named Edson Barbosa, and he's got a knockout in the UFC like that, where he does that spin kick. And for some reason, I always play like so I have Edson, he's real good on the game, and I get some like dude who's like real bad on the game, so I can beat him up a little bit, build my confidence before the fight. And so I kept landing that kick like in the video game over and over and over and over again. And that fight, I mean, it was a tough fight. It was two pretty close rounds. So arguably, I could have lost one or two of them. And I don't know, it was like this weird thing. It was like I saw him, he changed something up in the way that he moved. He had circled one way usually, and then the last round, I think they were trying to stay away from my right hand, so they had him circle the other way. And when they did that, I was like, oh, something just like clicked, and it was like, without even like thinking about it, it was like muscle memory from the training, the video game I just played, and it was just like, you just did it. It just came out, yeah, and it was, I don't know, it was weird. It was cool.
It was awesome. So, if you have a chance to, I'm sure it's on your page.
Yeah.
We'll put his Facebook page on here. Go have a look. That spinning heel kick was like, damn.
Yes, it was awesome for sure.
Came out of nowhere.
Josh Belanger, Jobo, shout out.
Jobo.
He asked, how do you stay disciplined with your dietary restrictions when training for a fight? Do you write it down, set alarms to know when to eat? Is everything just in your head?
So this has been one that's kind of adapted, I guess, as I've gone through. So I was an amateur for, I think, the better part of 2 to 3 years, and I've been a pro for just over a year now. So one of the things, a lot of what I would do has changed over time. And whenever I first started it out, I would I had a little notebook that looked just like that, and I would write down like what all I had to do or what all I was eating and the calories of everything and all this stuff. And I was doing it, like the tracking it was good so that I could get an idea of, like now I can eyeball things a lot easier just from like tracking it and getting that experience with it. Yeah. So I can understand just through going through that process and being aware of like physically just being aware, having to think about exactly what I'm eating, and exactly like having that on paper. I don't do it anymore, and I didn't do it really. I think I did it for 2 fights. But just doing that kind of gave me the experience to like build off of, and then I would go and I would try different kind of diets and stuff, and like try to see what worked. What helped with my weight, like what kept my weight down, what gave me the most energy, and those two were definitely not always hand in hand.
I remember sometimes coming in like having to cut so much and just being like, like a zombie.
Yeah.
I was gonna actually ask a follow-up question, which was, how hard was it working right next to KK's and your coworkers like Tiffany, Jenny, and Rachel, having all that food in front of you?
It was. I would bring I got in the habit. I would bring these like little teas, and like that was like if they got KK's, I would have a little tea. I did after my fights. I would go in on KK's.
Go ham. Oh yeah.
But one of the things I learned too, like through my amateur career, is I wouldn't blow up between fights, like with my weight. A lot of fighters, they'll go super, super strict for like 8 weeks, and then they've got like a month or so where they'll kind of eat whatever. And I did that a little bit, maybe not too much, but when I was cutting down to 55, so I used to fight at 155, and now I fight at 170, so I bumped up a weight class. But when I fought at 55, I had to be very, very like super, super, I don't even want to say it. I'm still dialed in, but it's, I can eat now for a longer period of time.
And you have energy now.
Yeah, that was
rough.
Yeah, that 155, that was insane. I remember how excited Tim was whenever you got, like, did they added a weight class or something?
They hadn't added one. We got it. We bumped up, and then we had a few fights at we call it a catch weight of 165. They were talking about that.
That's, I think, okay. But yeah, I remember how excited he was. Like,
read the rest of Jobo's.
Yes, he did have another part. He said, how do I stop knocking the bag over with doing my side kicks, but still fully extending my leg?
Okay.
That is a big problem he has.
Yeah. He goes on the middle bag right there, and
we had side kicks today.
Long, but he has power, and he shoots that foot out, and that bag just goes flying.
So there's 2 parts. One, I can't really help with. Like they said, you're long, you're tall, so whenever you hit, your kick's gonna be up here. And mine's gonna be like right here. So that's one thing. That's something I can't really.
Would he try to kick a little lower?
You can for sure, but with that kick, you still want to make sure you're chambering your knee like super, like as high as you can get it. And I don't necessarily want you to change that too much. One thing you can try is like think about your kick almost like a little knife. You're going in and then out. You're not like pushing through the bag, but you're stabbing it. So you chamber, kick, rechamber. If I chamber, push, and let it fall, I can't see you, so I'm not quite sure exactly like what it is, but that's one thing like in my head that it may be, is like think about that rechamber. And you're still gonna get some of that pop, especially towards the top, but like just that little in and out, that stabbing motion can maybe help from like tipping it over, I guess.
Done a big,
I feel like we've told something similar to you, Josh. So.
Just that little stab.
We got you.
Okay, and then let's see.
Right, and he wanted something else.
I think, yeah.
He said, so Jobo also said, and lastly, can I get that autograph? Super proud of you, my dude.
Thank you, dude. I think I hit him back. I said if he gets me a Mambo No. 5 CD.
Stop it! That came on the other day, and we were like, let me change it.
But I think there was one thing, too, I forgot to answer. What was the very first part?
Let's see. It was about discipline, dietary restrictions when training for a fight. Okay. Do you write it down, set alarms to know when to eat, or is everything just in your head?
As far as like the discipline thing, like I cheat on my kicks by turning my toes out. I don't cheat on my diet, but I have habits. Like I go to the grocery store every Sunday now. It's like and don't get me wrong, like it's super clean, like chicken, rice, vegetables, all that good stuff. I go to Natural Grocers, and I do fresh pickings. I have my little run, and I love it. But I buy like pretty much the same amount of teas that are little lemonade, Herbert's lemonade or something. Those things are bomb. But I get like basically the same like groceries every week now, and
so you're not like swaying. You're not like leaving it out.
So I have to go out to eat. Like I'm going to eat with my girlfriend tomorrow. Like I've got that structure that framework gives me the ability to like go off and do something. Maybe I'm not like getting 10 pizzas or 2 pizzas and eating those on my cheat night or my living night, I guess, or whatever. But I have those little carrots sprinkled out throughout that structure. If that makes sense. But that framework is there every week. So once you build that habit up, it's like you're not even thinking about like, all right, what do I need to eat? What do I need to eat? It's like, okay, I'm just used to this, cook this, you know?
I like that. Like, so it's like, it's okay to have your, like what people normally call cheat days or whatever.
80-20.
Right, yeah, like it's your, this was a special night, but not normally how I eat.
Right,
yeah.
And also like, so if you have like a super tough day, right, like where you really hit it with the workouts and all that, like have a little bit more, like give your body what it needs. If you have a day where maybe we're chilling, watching movies, like maybe try to adjust that and maybe not have too, you know what I mean? Like obviously popcorn, candy goes good with movies, but that's the idea.
Next question is from Jen Spees. How do you get through rounds without stopping or dying? And then she said, but seriously, is there a good way to condition outside of class?
Okay, so I'll kind of answer that in 2 parts. The first part, how to get through the round. Don't worry about like what everybody else on their bag is like doing with their pace. Like figure out what pace is like comfortable for you to sustain for a round, and try to do that. Another thing is like we talked about in my class tonight. There was the idea of like how one punch can set up another punch, just like through the way our body moves, and just through doing that and kind of having it in your mind, like okay, if I move this way, this punch is like easier to do, and now I'm not really using my muscles too much. I'm more just like using my body and the way it naturally kind of
like
wants
momentum
to. Yeah.
Kind of rocking back. You see like a lot of TikTok, like back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes it a little more like flow and not effortless, but
you're not
ease.
Yeah, like each punch you're doing isn't all just muscle. It's not just muscle. It's that idea of momentum and going back and forth. So that's one way to kind of make it easy. Your breath is another. Breathe like each time we do a strike, it should have a little breath.
She's working on that. We've got her working on that. Yep.
Good.
Yes, breathing. I think that's good though, because I think people come in not with ego, but just with a sense of like, you know, wanting to keep up with whoever's next to them.
Oh, I do.
I do it too.
Yeah.
Put me next to, you know, someone. I usually work out by camera, and for some reason, and it's like I'm gonna keep up, and so I get that. But that's really important to go at your pace, depending on the day or the week or what you've eaten or how you've slept or what's going on for you. Find your pace and go with that. I think is really important.
Absolutely.
And not every workout you have to kill the bag.
Yes.
Like not every workout is gonna be like this amazing, like balls to the wall workout.
Right.
Some days it's just like you're in here, you're just getting it done. Going, you know, tapping it out and just getting it done.
Some days you're focusing on technique. Maybe some days like you're like, all right, if a right kick comes up, I'm breaking it down. I'm slowing down. I'm getting my pivot done.
It's okay to go slow.
Yes, it's okay to. I do it all the time.
On that.
Yes.
Same. Lately, I've been trying to work on that left side, that left roundhouse, and just really like taking my time, stepping out, looking at my feet, looking at my body, thinking about top to toe what everything's doing. I think that's really important too.
For sure.
Yes. Did we get everything in that question?
What was the last?
Oh, she said, is there a good way to condition outside of class?
Outside of it, I would say like it depends like what kind of what part of the class maybe is toughest for you. Like if it's that first little bit, do stuff like that first little bit. Like do some. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just a little bit each day, right? Like maybe just some body weight stuff, like a couple push-ups a day, or I say a couple, maybe a little bit more than a couple, but
not 3, Jen.
Right? Yeah, like the idea of almost like I don't want to say desensitizing yourself, but like building yourself up before the class so that when you get to the class, like it's, you know, it's not too new.
But Tiffany would say that. She was like, I would be in my kitchen and drop down, just do one push-ups.
Yeah.
And then I'd walk somewhere, I'd do one push-up, like 2 push-ups, and just sporadically kind of throw them in there to work on and to build up that muscle.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then like if it's like the bag work or something like you said that you're having trouble making it through, how long are the bag rounds?
3
right, they're 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we do some stuff. Maybe we'll if we go for a jog or a walk or maybe both, we'll walk for a minute and then we'll do a light jog for 3 minutes, or we'll start building ourselves up into that 3-minute time frame. That's a lot of what like our fight conditioning is. We don't have to fight for an hour in a row, right? Our fights are broken down into, if you're an amateur, they're 3 minutes long each round, and then you get 3 of those. So your workouts are tailored towards that time frame, and just it's the idea of getting more comfortable in that time frame and just getting time in that time frame, but putting in reps with that time frame so you understand what rhythm, what pace, what power level you need to go through this whole round. I guess that's
so true, because even when we first started with the 45-second sets in the conditioning, we were not conditioned for that. We were conditioned, 15, 20, 30 seconds, but throw in a 45-second of froggies or I don't know, something, and it's like, you're dying.
Yes, indeed.
Feels like an hour.
Yes.
So I think, just conditioning your body to whatever that time is. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and then last question from Facebook is from Elizabeth Bertucci. She asks, what is the best way to lengthen hamstrings? I'm always super tight.
Same. So one thing I like to do is, this is like a really easy one you can do like sitting on the couch or whatever. It's just literally keeping your legs straight like this, pulling your toes back as far as you can, and trying to like not letting your feet go out like this. If you do this, for me, the tight part is like right on the inside right here, like where it ties into my knee. So if I keep my toes either straight or even like turned in just a little bit and just lean forward just the smallest amount, just right here, I already feel it. And just kind of like going along, and I think the Awakened stretch, Megan calls it like hamstring flossing or something, but it's a good name, but it really does feel good. Like just leaving your legs out like this. If it is that part on the inside right here, just legs straight here, or bottoms of our knees to the mat, and just kind of going here and going along, just feeling that. And that can be, you can do that for 10 minutes while you're watching TV or whatever. Another one that's good is just coming here on our back, and again, just working to get that leg as straight as we can, right above our hip, and pulling our toes back. That's the big one. If I leave my toes lazy, I'm not really stretching this part of my leg. If I pull them back, oh, sweet Jesus. So those are 2 I like to do.
Oh, I want to know one thing.
What's up?
Is there anything like weird that you do, like pre-fight something?
Play Xbox?
Play Xbox. I usually get hibachi after I like rehydrate and stuff after my weight cut. Other than that, I usually get a coffee
before your fight?
At the rules meet. Well, that's the rules meet. I messed up on that a few times, drank it too close. But yeah, talk about a heart
yes.
overload. But no, I usually get one at the rules meeting, because now I'm like, I may change this, but now I'm fighting like a little bit later in the night than I was as an amateur. So I get some at the rules meeting, get a little coffee to get me going.
Get a little.
Yeah. And then I like to, I know I won't be able to do this all the time, but I like to, if I can, like go out and watch a couple fights before my fight. And that kind of like gets me getting acclimated to, that's like little exposures. That's the whole idea of like getting comfortable with something. It's like, so I'll go out and I'll watch, and may watch somebody get kaplunked or whatever, or may just watch a good fight or whatever. And then that like, then when all the lights come on and all that, you've already got a little bit of that in your head. Now you're just like, oh, okay, I'm here.
Well, awesome.
Yes,
That's it
indeed.
then.
Yes, well, thank you for coming join us and answering our questions and having that good talk on mindset. That was awesome.
Yes.
But thank you guys for tuning in with Coach Clara, Coach Mel, and AJ the Ghost.
The Ghost Fletcher.
Please like this video and subscribe.
And if y'all have any questions, drop them below in the comments.
Let me know.
Bye.